Hello, I thought I'd do something a little bit different and go through my Doctor Who DVD collection as of 2020. I haven't gotten any this year yet. I do plan to, just, not quite yet. So, let's just go through them all. First up, we have the Space Museum, which I haven't seen, and I've heard conflicting things about its quality. Personally, I don't think I'm going to particularly care for it, but we'll see. Next up, we have The Chase, which is Ian and Barbara's last one. But I actually really liked The Chase, which I know isn't exactly the most popular opinion in the world. I thought it was just a good, a bit of good fun, really, which is exactly what it sets out to do, and it achieves it. And its 6-part length doesn't feel too long, which is a surprising change considering how boring a lot of the William Hartnell stuff is. Next up we have The 10th Planet, which is William Hartnell's last one. The 4th episode's Lost, which is unfortunately the last one with the regeneration. Luckily the regeneration scene's still in it, but this is one of my favourites, and it's my favourite William Hartnell one. And I'm not I'm not a massive fan of the 60s era, really. I do like it, it's just I don't really think it's my cup of tea. But no, I love it. I really like the Cybermen. Obviously I don't think it's my favourite appearance of them, but I love the whole idea, and I think this is sort of the most pure representation of them, because they have changed over the years, both for the times and just, bad writing. But yeah, I really like The 10th Planet. Next DVD is The Tomb of the Cybermen, which I think this is the first 60s DVD I actually ever got. This is the standard edition. I didn't even know there was like another version of it. But there is, but I got this a while ago, and I think this was actually before the next version came out. But why am I putting it away? But no, The Tomb of the Cybermen is really, 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 really good. The Cyber controller is really good as well. The voices are quite chilling. This is their second appearance in the Patrick Troughton era, after the Moonbase, but this is probably better than the Moonbase. I've seen most of the Moonbase, but not part 6. I think it's 6 parts, but yeah, this is definitely I prefer this. The next DVD is The Ice Warriors. I know a lot of people don't like this one either. I don't think I mind it, but the animation for a few of the episodes just the worst. It's bloody awful. Like the animation for like the Moonbase and the Invasion is like really really good, and then you get this, which is just so embarrassing, and it really makes it difficult to watch. It makes it harder to watch. I'd rather watch like a loose cannon reconstruction than the actual animation, but the story's just kind of boring. But the Ice Warriors are good, so that's a plus. Story is the standard edition of The Spearhead from Space. This is a really good Jon Pertwee story, and it's it might be my favourite next to the Silurians. But I like the fact that this isn't 6 years long. It's only 4 parts compared to the rest of season 7, which is 7-parters, and it's just the worst. Oh my god. Next up is the Silurians, which is so long it had to be put onto 2 discs, and it was recoloured because they lost the colour version, and it looks atrocious. Oh my god, it's so bad, and then it's so long, and it's so boring. And I love the idea, and I love the Silurians, but I just don't feel it. I don't know, it's just too long, and that's the problem with a lot of the Jon Pertwee stories. Next DVD is the standard edition of Inferno. Inferno, which I know a lot of people love, but I bloody hate Inferno. My god, it's so long, it's so boring. I just don't like Jon Pertwee that much. I'm not saying he's bad, but he's definitely the weakest classic Doctor for me. I don't know, something really quite well, I wouldn't say unappealing, but you know, he's missing something. He's quite bland. It's hard to quite pinpoint what's really good about him. But yeah, that's what I think of Inferno. Sea Devils, 6-parter. This was a part of the box set which came with the Silurians, this, and then Warriors of the Deep. But I like this story. It's 6 parts, but it doesn't feel too bad. It's also got the Master in it, which is always a nice addition. The Sea Devils, they're okay. I think this is probably their best appearance next to the fact that they're in Warriors of the Deep, which we'll get to. I haven't seen this in a while, so I'm struggling to actually think of anything. I know I enjoy it, and I've seen it quite a lot, and I think I might actually enjoy it more than the Silurians, but I love the idea of the Silurians so much, I'm not actually sure. But yeah, I do like this one. Next up, we have The Three Doctors, which is, well, it's, I wouldn't say it's the best multi-Doctor story, but I do prefer it a lot more than The Day of the Doctor. Maybe. I'm not actually sure, but I don't like The Day of the Doctor one bit, so that's why I think this is probably better. But I haven't seen this in a while either, but I don't think it's all that special, and William Hartnell isn't in it a lot, and I know that's because of health reasons. Just still a little disappointing. Really, it's the 2 Doctors, which we'll also get to the 2 Doctors in a bit. Oh, and Omega's in this, which is his first appearance, and he's alright actually. I'm not massively... I'm not sure about him in this one. I think he's good in Big Finish, because I've listened to Omega, which is the Peter Davison Big Finish story, which is probably his best appearance, but it's also his weirdest, so yeah. Next up we have The Green Death. Yeah, again, this is a much beloved one, but I'm not feeling it. It's just, I don't know if I've even sat through it all. It's just so unappealing. The ending's good, like the final scene, where Jon Pertwee drives off and the horrendous Bessie. But yeah, I think it's okay. I think I'd need to give it another watch. This is also the standard version. There is the special edition. Finally, The Time Warrior, which is one of the best Jon Pertwee stories. First appearance of Sarah Jane Smith, and the first appearance of the Sontarans, which I love the Sontarans, so that's very good. This is a good story. It's by Robert Holmes, who is one of the best writers for Doctor Who. But no, this is 4 parts, so it's I can actually watch this one, and I have watched it on many occasions. But no, this is from Jon Pertwee's last season as well, which I think is probably his second or the strongest. I'm not entirely sure. I've seen Death to the Daleks, but I don't own it, unfortunately. There's a lot of stories that I don't own but have seen, so it's not as limited as this. Next up we have Robot, which is Tom Baker's very first story. This used to be my favourite story of all time, and I have absolutely no idea why, because I don't think it's... I mean, I don't think it's bad, but it's like a Jon Pertwee story that Tom Baker's been thrown into, and I think this is the issue with season 12, which is a really, really, really good season, but a lot of the stories feel like they could fit into Jon Pertwee's era more than Tom's. And I think I don't know, but no, Robot's just, it's nothing special really, but it's good fun. Next DVD is The Sontaran Experiment. This is one of the first 2 parts. It's not the very first, I don't think, but no, this is a good one. The atmosphere has aged, very well. It's quite atmospheric, and I think the music has a lot to do with that, as well as just the way it's shot. It's quite well directed, which is a quite welcome change, to be honest. But no, this is the second appearance of the Sontarans, if you couldn't guess. And this is Styre, who is probably my favourite Sontaran, because the bit where he takes his helmet off is actually quite creepy, and I think though people think the makeup is weaker in this one for the Sontarans, I actually think it's creepier because the sort of areas around the eyes are quite darker, and I think that's quite cool. But yeah, it's quite good. Underrated, that's for sure. Next we have Genesis of the Daleks. This is the very first classic Doctor Who DVD I ever got, and you can tell because it's cracked, and I've had it for 13 years, because I actually saw this before I ever saw Doomsday as well, which is quite interesting. This is first appearance of Davros, the creator of the Daleks, and he's played very, very well by, I think it's Michael Wisher. I think that's the one, and I can't be bothered to figure it out, because he's only played by one other actor, and then he's played by Terry Malloy for the A's, so yeah. But no, this is very good. Daleks take a back seat in this one, which I quite like, but no, the 6-part length doesn't feel too bad in this, and I think if I enjoyed it at the age of, like, I don't know, 5, 4, it's probably doing something right. Next DVD is Revenge of the Cybermen, which is an hour and a half of nothing much, really. I mean, there's not much to really say. I like the Cybermat. It's like a snake in this one, and it infects people, which is quite interesting, but it's just, I don't know, I used to like it a lot. This was the second classic story I ever saw, right after Genesis of the Daleks, which is quite fitting, because chronologically that's how it goes, but no, I mean, the Cybermen, visually I quite like the look of the Cybermen, but they don't, I don't know, it's kind of meh. Next up is Pyramids of Mars, which is really, really bloody good. I don't know, who's this actually by? Cause Stephen I don't know who Stephen Harris is, but Sutek, who is just amazing. The mummies, which are a funny shape, considering they're just robots, which is a bit of a shame, actually. But no, this is one of the best ones, and this is like the sort of beginning of the Hammer horror kind of thing they do, which lasts until around season 15, and I love that. I don't know if it's my favourite. It might be one of my favourite years, if not my favourite, but Tom Baker's not my favourite Doctor, so but yeah, Pyramids of Mars, brilliant story. Kind of loses it in part 4, but still quite like it, but yeah. Brain of Morbius, which has come under a lot of flack recently, considering the whole Ruth Doctor thing and the whole 100 million other faces shown in this, which I don't even want to bother with. But no, this is a good one. It's a bit like Frankenstein's monster, but it's quite good. I struggle to remember things about it. Sisterhood of Karn makes their first appearance, and they've been in like series 9 of the new series, but overall I think it's probably the weakest in the season, maybe, but it's still really bloody good. But yeah, honestly, I can't really remember much about it, and maybe that's one of the problems with it. It's kind of forgettable. You remember the key things, but not many details about it. Seeds of Doom, and there was me thinking I'd seen all of these. I haven't seen all of the Seeds of Doom. I've seen like the first 3 or 4 parts, and that was really good. It was like The Thing, which is one of the best horror films ever made, but predates the remake, so anyway. Crinoid, I think, but no, I think from what I've seen, it's like 2 stories in one big 6-parter, and it's the finale for season 13 as well, but no, it's just really good. From what I've seen, I can say it's really good, and I think the rest of it is, because I know people who have seen it, who have said it's good as well, so I'll just assume it's very good. The Mask of Mandragora. I have not seen it. I just haven't gotten around to it in the past 3 years of owning it, maybe even 4 years, but bloody hell, whatever. Hand of Fear, not seen it in a while, but I think I liked it. Sergian's last one. I think Eldrad was good until the end. I think it's just a lot of running around in a big factory until like the last part, where Tom Baker trips the bad guy up with his scarf, which is, I think, unintentionally hilarious. But the final scene, written by Elizabeth Sladen and Tom Baker, is really, really good, and it's one of the standouts of the classic series. The Deadly Assassin, which is one of my all-time favourite Doctor Who stories of all time. The Master is back after being absent for a couple of years, and this is probably one of my favourite appearances of him, played by Peter Pratt here, who I might prefer ever so slightly over Jeffrey, bloody hell, I'm saying Geoffrey. Jeffrey Beavers, who plays him in The Keeper Track, and then he's basically the Big Finish Master, and then Mark Gatiss, he's the Master. I don't know anymore, I haven't listened to the more recent things, but no, this is bloody great, and it's also written by Robert Holmes, and it's got the Matrix in it, which predates the actual Matrix from the Matrix, so it's ahead of its time in its idea. Then we've got Tales of Wang Chiang, which competes with The Deadly Assassin for Best Tom Baker Story. This is a 6-parter by Robert Holmes, so it's automatically one of the best, if not the best 6-parter of all time. Mr. Sin, Magnus Greel, amazing bad guys, and the one big glaring problem is the use of yellowface, which is racist, yet at the time it was normal at the time, so I think I'm just going to look at it as just ignorance, because that was the normal thing at the time, and yes, it's terrible, and we need to know that that's bad, but I think we can look past it. It's also 3 disc set, it's 3 massive discs, well not massive discs, 3 normal sized discs, but that's very good. It's got a laser dragon, which is also nice. Here's something that totally sucks, the Invasion of Time, which is a 6-part monstrosity from season 15, which is Tom Baker's first change of producer, and this one was Graham Williams. Yes, Graham Williams, the Graham Williams era. This is the finale of his first season. This is garbage. This is like trash of the highest order. It sucks. The Sontaran, main Sontaran, he's awful, and they appear in they appear at the end of part 4. You have to wade through 4 parts of actual legitimate tinfoil monsters. It's just, and it's Leela's final story, where she goes off with him, and it's like, it makes no sense, and nothing, who cares, who likes this, who? Then we have Destiny of the Daleks with a very nice cover by Lee Binding. This is crap. It's the season 17 opener, and it's still Graham bloody Williams. It's Douglas Adams' first story, script editor, and he's bloody awful. Even though he's a really bloody good writer, he's bloody awful in this. Terry, I don't know, I think he didn't understand the Daleks, because the Daleks are said, oh, there's little robots in this, but they're not, oh bloody, they're not robots. And then you get the Mavellans, which are there in the corner, and they're like disco robots, and they fight the Daleks. This should have been a Cyberman story, because it's all about, like, computers and stuff, and, oh no, it's just not good, and this is the second actor to play Davros, and he's bloody awful because it's the same mask from Genesis, the Daleks, and it does not fit him. Oh, it's so embarrassing. Oh my god. We have City of Death, which is the best story in the Graham Williams era. So, and it's the best one since the bloody like horror Fang Rock. But I mean, I don't want to say it's overrated, but I'm not entirely sure about it. But the vast majority of it's really bloody good. And it's got the guy from The Empire Strikes Back and The Last Crusade as the bad guy. The Jaggeroth man, I can't remember his name. But no, it's very good. Film it in Paris, which is the first time Doctor Who properly went abroad to film. Which it makes a nice change from the horrible, horrendous sets of most of everything. Yes, very good. Oh, I forgot to mention Romana was in Destiny of the Daleks. Romana 2, because she regenerated after season 16, which I've only seen one story from. But yeah, this is very nice. Another relatively strong story from season 17 with a wonderful cover by Lee Binding, which is Nightmare of Eden. It's Doctor Who meets Breaking Bad in space, and it's like drugs made out of these things called mandrels, and I think it's good. It's quite cheesy, but it kind of works. But it's the fact that in such a particularly poor season, this stands out because if it was in like any other season, it'd be like, oh, it's kind of crap. But no, it's all right. The music's really nice. It's one of Dudley Simpson's last ever scores. Because I think the one that immediately follows this is like The Horns of Nimon, which is technically the last story of season 17 if you don't include Shadow, which wasn't released. I mean, Shadow wasn't even that good. I wouldn't say, well, it was good, but it was nowhere near as good as City of Death. But I think it was better than this. But yeah, it's good, considering it's in the same season as The Horns of Nimon. And then we get The Leisure Hive, which is in season 18, which is a season I bloody love and adore, and I just think it's a very creative story. I know a lot of people absolutely bloody hate it, but I think it's one of the most creatively directed classic stories. They got shots where they pan through windows, and they got POV shots, and it's wonderful, and it's probably the most creatively directed stories of the classic era ever. I don't think anything that's followed it has really been up to its standard, and even the new series has kind of struggled to, you know, have such an interesting blend all in one story. So yeah, it's very good, and I love the oh god, what are they called? They're escaping me. My god, it's gone. But I like this guy, that had a nice voice. We have Meglos, which is sorely underrated, and the music's bloody nice as well. So is the music in Leisure Hive, but it's just because Spike Tom Baker, and that makeup's actually quite good. And it also has the return of Jacqueline Pierce, who plays Barbara, but she's not Barbara in this, which is kind of strange. But no, I like this one. It's definitely underrated. I think a lot of people think it's kind of ridiculous and cheesy. Well, it both is and both isn't, because it is actually, if they did it today, I think it might have been a bit, well, maybe not better now, but yes, it's quite good, it's quite underrated. Then we have Full Circle, which is the beginning of the E-Space trilogy, and it also introduces Adric. This could be the strongest story in season 18. It's also the first story to have music by Paddy Kingsland. The Marshmen are really cool as well. I also want to say that Tom Baker's outfit in season 18 is bloody amazing. I love the burgundy look. But this is probably the best story. I think it's the most interesting out of the bunch. Then we have State of Decay, which is probably the first weak story in season 18. I don't actually care for it. I don't really think it makes much sense when you start thinking about it. And it's by Terrence Dicks. It's probably one of his weaker scripts, and it's definitely one of the weaker in season 18, which I think is a really, really bloody good season. Season 18 is also the first season with John Nathan Turner as the producer, who lasted until the very end of the classic series. But the whole vampire thing is also very interesting, and it's something that kind of almost made it into the new series in a way. Then have Warrior's Gate, which is competing with Full Circle to be the best story of the season. It's quite complex, and it's yet again a very well directed episode story, or whatever how you want to call it. I think the ideas could do with a little more expanding, because I think it would require a couple watches to fully get it. But a lot of people say it just makes no sense. But I understood it pretty well the first time. Well, I've only seen it once, but it was very recent. But yeah, it's also the end of the E-Space trilogy and Romana 2's last appearance, which is a very, very big shame, but she's in Big Finish, so it's fine. We then have The Keeper of Traken. This one is pretty good. I think it's quite hilarious, because it's all about this thing called The Source, and I keep hearing sauce, and I don't think I've ever laughed as hard as I have watching this. Also has the Master, who's the Melker, which is his TARDIS, basically. I quite like the Melker, and also has Anthony Ainley in it, which is his first appearance. He doesn't play the Master in this one, because his body gets stolen by Jeffrey Beavers. I hope I'm saying his name right. I'm a bit of an idiot, so probably not. Or I am, which is even stupider, the fact that I don't even know him. Oh, bugger it. But no, it's a very good one. Tom Baker's penultimate story. And then we have it's a shame it's followed by Logopolis, actually. Logopolis is probably one of the worst things I've ever had to see with my eyes. It's one of the few 12-rated stories as well. But no, it's gibberish. It's total nonsense. And for it to be Tom Baker's last ever story ever, it's an absolute atrocious dumpster fire. And there are a few saving graces, two of them being Anthony Ainley as the Master, and the regeneration at the end, which is really bloody good. But no, the whole thing's just a bloody nightmare. It's the most boring 4-parter of all time. It's absolutely miserable. And Tom Baker I don't think Tom Baker smiles once. Maybe at the end, in the best regeneration ever. Well, I don't know if it is the best regeneration ever. It's one of the best regeneration scenes, but no, I don't like it. It's total nonsense with the whole maths, moving planets, and sorting the TARDIS chameleon circuit, which doesn't happen in the end. No, it's crap. It's full of crap. We then have Castrovalva, Peter Davison's first... Oh, I forgot to mention season 18. That's first full season I own. But no, Castrovalva, I haven't seen this in a while, but I think it's pretty good. I like the ideas anyway, the whole kind of messed up time castle place, Castrovalva. But no, I don't think it's the best thing ever. It's definitely bloody better than bloody Logopolis, which right before it. And I don't know if it's Peter Davison's best kind of, not the best way for him to start probably. But no, it's pretty good. I won't lie. And I think just compared to Robot, it's a far superior regeneration story. Yeah, a lot weaker than Spearhead from Space. We then have the standard edition of The Visitation, which has a kind of weak cover, but The Visitation is a really bloody good story. It's, what's his face? It's first, Eric Sayward's first story. He went on to become the script editor until the Trail of a Time Lord season, and I quite like him. His style is quite dark, but he's also a very hit-and-miss writer, because he can write some excellent stuff and then write some complete crap, but this is very good, and the whole way it ties into the Black Plague and the Fire London's just very creative, and it's just a very good story, and it's one of the standouts of season 19, which is quite mixed if you asked me. Then have Earthshock, which is the one that completely annihilates Adric, but bloody hell, this is also by Eric Sayward, and I think this is his last one before he becomes script editor, possibly, or maybe his first one, I don't know. It's Return of the Cybermen after Revenge of the Cybermen, and he's maybe my favourite types of Cybermen, next to the Parallel Earth ones, which I quite like. I think they're quite underrated. But no, this is great. Bloody great. Probably, definitely the best season 19 story, that's for sure. And I think Adric's death is handled relatively well. It's just kind of forgotten about in the next story where they don't treat it very well. But I was surprised to learn that they do bring it up quite often in the rest of Peter Davison's era. Arc of Infinity is the opening story of season 20, and it's kind of crap. Well, I mean, it's not particularly good. Yeah, at the same time, it's not exactly bad. It's just it's all right. Cover's shocking, and it's also got Omega, who in his second and last appearance in the classic series and Doctor Who as a whole, unless you count Big Finish. And I actually quite like the look of Omega in this one. I think I might prefer it. I think it's really cool looking. But no, and it finds a weird way to bring Tegan back, who leaves at the end of season 19 in time flight. And there's bits I like and there's bits I don't like. It's a bit like a kind of rubbish rip-off of the Deadly Assassin, which it's kind of hard to top the Deadly Assassin, to be honest. We then have Modern Undead, which I really like. I think it's one of the most creative classic stories ever. The way it uses time travel as a key part of the plot, with the whole two brigadiers, trying to stop them from meeting, and it's like two timelines, and it's really bloody good, and it's I quite like Modron and his friends in the whole the weird creepy ship. I think it's one of the more creative classic stories, that's for sure. I just think it's really quite good, and it's one of the more creative. We then have Terminus, which I think isn't as bad as people say it is, but it definitely isn't that good. I like the visual look of the majority of the story, but I think it's just kind of crap. We have Nissa leave, who was introduced in the Keeper track, and because it's like it's her last story, but they barely focus on her, which is a bit rubbish, and she didn't want to leave, and it's a shame that she did, because it's kind of crap reason to have her leave at the end of this. I don't know. I like the Vanir, or I think, no, that's the Vanir. The Gorn is the big dog thing. I quite like the Gorn. But no, it's alright. It's nothing special, and I don't think it's terrible. We then have Enlightenment, which, the Modern Undead terminus in this is part of the Black Guardian trilogy, where the Black Guardian tries to get Turlough to, like, totally murder the Doctor. And, Enlightenment, I think it's definitely better than Terminus, but I'm not massively keen on it. But I do like the Black Guardian quite a lot, and I think the whole, Eternals, I think they came back in the Dream one in Series 12. I didn't watch that, but yeah, I think they hinted towards him coming back as well. I hope he does. But no, this is quite good. I don't think it's the best in this season, and I think out of the Black Guardian trilogy, Modern Undead is definitely the best. We then have Warriors of the Deep, which is the opening story for Season 21, which is overall a very, very, very strong season. It's probably Peter Davison's best, but this is quite crap. This is just, I think it's a good story, which is totally betrayed by its execution, which is just absolutely appalling. The Murker is it's so embarrassing. It's one of those stories where you just facepalm at every poor decision, because it's so like, oh my god, who even, why did they should have just cancelled it, because it's just, it's so embarrassing to watch, because the crude production overpowers the overall pretty interesting story. Then I have Resurrection of the Daleks, and this is the special edition. This is Terry Molloy's first appearance as Davros, and it's the Daleks' first appearance since Destiny of the Daleks, so it's been a while. It's also Tegan's last, and Litton's first. He doesn't become a companion, but he does reappear in Attack of the Cybermen, which I have seen, but I don't own, unfortunately. But no, this is probably Eric Sayward's weakest script, because a lot of it just doesn't make sense upon closer inspection, and it's just needlessly violent, and I like that kind of thing, but it's just not done very well. It's like trying way too hard. It's like an edgy teen, but no, Terry Molloy is so unbelievably brilliant as Davros. He's definitely the best Davros, but overall I think this story's actually quite overrated, to be honest. We then have The Caves of Androzani, which is probably one of the best stories ever, if not the best. This is also Robert Holmes' first script since, season 15, possibly. But no, it's got some of the best cliffhangers ever, and it's Peter Davison's last ever story, and it's just really good. I just think it's definitely the strongest Peter Davison story, that's for sure. So, for what a lot of people consider the best classic story ever, it's immediately followed by what people consider the worst classic story ever. I think I said best, but this one, Twin Dilemma, first Colin Baker story, I actually think it's quite good. I think it's quite creative. Yeah, again, I think the execution puts a lot of people off, because Mestor, the big slug monster, is just kind of crap. But I think it's quite good, and Colin Baker, he's like acting 5,000. He's incredible in this. It's just bloody amazing. We then have Vengeance on Varos, which is the second story in season 22. As Syl's first appearance, he returns in Mind Warp, which is probably even better than this one. This is really good. I think it's one of the darkest classic stories, if not the darkest. Well, maybe Caves of Androzani is darker than this. But it's got the whole acid bath scene, which it's fallen under a lot of scrutiny by, I think a lot of people just don't quite get it, because people think the Doctor pushes like 2 guards in when really he surprises one, knocking one of the guards in, and then one of the guards gets pulled in by the other, so totally innocent. I like the cover as well. It's another Lee binding one. This is the special edition, which is a second release. I think it's like 2012 12, yes, 2012, so yeah. We then get Mark of the Rani, which is easily the weakest in this season. I know Time Lash is in this, but I think this is way worse than Time Lash. It's just crap. It's very dull. The Rani isn't. I don't like the Rani very much. Master's in it, luckily, but no, I don't know. It's not spectacular. It's by Pip and Jane Baker, and it's a miracle they wrote more than one story for the classic series, considering how kind of crap they are. We then get The Two Doctors, which is one of my favourite stories ever. It's also one of the most underrated and the weirdest. This is the first appearance of the Sontarans since the invasion of Time, and I love these Sontarans. They're super tall and stuff, and it's kind of scary actually. It's also got Patrick Troughton in it, and this is his first appearance since the Five Doctors, because he was quite keen on coming back. But no, I like this story a hell of a lot. I think it's really good. It's really well written. It's by Robert Holmes, so you can expect quality. It's also a 3-parter, which is basically, in season 22, they were made up of 45-minute parts. So this was essentially a 6-parter. No, it doesn't feel like a 6-parter yet again, because Robert Holmes seems to manage to keep the whole plot moving at a good pace, and it's just really interesting, and it's just mental. It goes a bit Texas Chainsaw Massacre at some points. Like, it's also the last time the classic series will ever shoot abroad, and it's the last time Doctor Who film abroad until The Fires of Pompeii with David Tennant. This story is then followed by Time Lash, which is not well. People say it's the worst classic story ever. It's a bit amateur in how it's written, like, which is a bit of a shame. The Borat, which is just an amazing bad guy, mainly because the makeup's really, really bloody good. And I think the set design, a lot of people have criticised, isn't actually that bad, but at the same time it's kind of got the Time Lash in the title. This machine thing, it literally has tinsel inside of it, which is just quite poor. This is like a filler story, because it's kind of like, it's the second last story. Bloody hell, brain isn't working. It's the second last story, because it's followed by Revelation of the Daleks, which is easily Colin Baker's best story. The Revelation of the Daleks, which is Eric Sawer's last actual writing credit. He's still script editor though afterwards. But this is Terry Malloy's second appearance as Davros, and it's also Davros' best appearance in the whole programme, just ever. It's got the Glass Dalek, which is cool. It's directed by Graham Harper, who's probably the best director for Doctor Who. He also did new series episodes, like The Waters of Mars and Stone Earth and stuff. But no, this is really good, very atmospheric, great music by Roger Lim, who is one of my favourite composers for the classic series, and it's just a really good way to end season 22, which I think is a very underrated season, and it has some right crackers in there. So, Trial of a Time Lord, this is the sort of arc for one of the first series-long arcs as well. But no, it's Colin Baker's last season because they fired him, which is just the worst thing ever. So this is The Mysterious Planets, the first 4 parts. Either you can look at this as its own individual story or part of the Trial of Time Lord story. But no, this is what's his face? Oh my god, it's totally gone. Robert Holmes. Robert Holmes' second last script, because it's then followed by The Helmet Foe at the end of the season. This is kind of, it's not amazing. Orphan 55 totally rips it off in the worst possible way, and this is obviously better than bloody Orphan 55. The big robot guy is pretty good, but overall it's a pretty weak story, and it's probably the second weakest in the season. We then have Trial of a Time Lord, parts 5 to 8, which is Mind Warp, which is probably the best story in the season. Got Brian Blessed in it, which everybody likes bloody Brian Blessed. I mean, how couldn't you? Syl comes back, Perry dies, kind of spoiled it. 6th Doctor goes all evil and stuff, and it's, oh my god, it's so good. The music's great, the sets are great. It's probably the darkest classic story next to like Caves of Androzani. It's just totally miserable in a good way, unlike Resurrection of the Daleks, which makes you want to just curl up and die after you've seen it. But this is very good, and it's easily the strongest in the season. Maybe the strongest Colin Baker story ever. Maybe. I still think I might like Revelation of the Daleks slightly more. Maybe even the Two Doctors, I really like that as well. So next up we have the Terror of the Vervoids, parts 9 to 12 in Trial of a Time Lord. This is probably the weakest story in the season. It's by Pip and Jane Baker, so you can probably assume that it would be. It's like a murder mystery in space. Obviously, Mummy on the Orient Express in Series 8 is bloody way better than this crap. It's Mel's first appearance, and she's awful. She's good in Big Finish, but she's awful in bloody classic series. She's just a scream machine. But no, it's just a bit stupid. I have The Ultimate Foe, which is Colin Baker's last story, except it's not a Regeneration story because they didn't know it was going to be his last story, which kind of sucks. But I love this one actually. It's a two-parter. I think it's the last proper two-parter, if not the last two-parter. It is the last two-parter in the classic series. It's got the Valeyard twist, which I won't even spoil because it's that good, and it's Robert Holmes's last script. He wrote the first part and then he kind of died, so you can't exactly write when you're dead. And guess who they got to write the last part? Pip and Jane Bloody Baker. It's supposed to be Eric Sayward, who I would have preferred, but he fell out with John Nathan Turner, so we didn't let them use his script because it's very petty. But no, first part's bloody great, and then the second one's just a bit weak. It kind of ends in a... I think it could have been longer, maybe. It's the Return of the Matrix as well, which is always nice. Masters in it, which is another plus, and it's just it's a shame it's Colin Baker's last one because he did deserve better overall, but I do think this is a pretty good story. Speaking of good stories, here's one that's absolutely bloody awful. Time in the Rani, Sylvester McCoy's very first story. This is so terrible that it took me 2 attempts to watch it, and it's only like a 4-parter, and it's, oh my god, it's so bad. It's just not good, and it's easily the worst Sylvester McCoy story ever. It's a contender for the worst classic story, if not worst story of Doctor Who of all time. It's particularly poor, and it's an awful, awful way for Sylvester McCoy's brilliant era to start. So this story is then followed by Paradise Towers, which is seemingly grown in... people love it a lot more now. I watched this recently, and these, I think, Kangs are just bloody annoying, but it's quite good, it's quite comedic, which is, that's done well. The whole pantomime thing, which is something I'm not a massive fan of, is tolerable, but overall it is one of the weaker Sylvester McCoy stories, because it does get much, much better after this season kind of ends. Dragonfire is the finale of this season. It's easily the best in the season, because I haven't seen Delta and the Bannermen. It's the only Sylvester McCoy story I haven't seen. But this is good. Introduces Ace, who is probably the best companion ever, at least in the classic series. Even better than Sarah Jane, who is bloody amazing, but don't get me wrong. This is notable for having one of the weirdest cliffhangers ever, which does make sense, but it's so poorly done. But no, this is good. Mel leaves, which is, thank Christ. But this paves the way for the much better last 2 seasons for Sylvester McCoy's Doctor. So, the first story in the season 25 anniversary season is Remembrance of the Daleks, and this is the special edition released in 2009. This is probably Sylvester McCoy's best story, next to like maybe Curse Fenric, and I think that might be it actually. But Great Show in the Galaxy is pretty good. But this is really good. The whole Dalek faction war, civil war, is really, really interesting. Production values are quite good. There's a lot of really amazing pyrotechnics, massive, massive explosions, even for, you know, movies now, they're pretty massive. But no, this is very good. It's smart. Ace is brilliant, Dalek's brilliant, they can fly upstairs finally. And Sylvester McCoy's Doctor is finally incredible, because you know, the whole chess master thing really comes into effect now. You can see a glimpse of it in Dragonfire, but it's full effect now. Andrew Cartmel, who's the script editor now, you know, finally has free reign over the scripts, because a lot of them were written without him being the script editor for the last season. We then have the Happiness Patrol, which is easily one of the more underrated stories, because a lot of people just think it's crap, and it's like, what are you on about? God, this is really good. It's kind of like a Graham Williams era story, except it's really, really, really good. The Candyman, who is legitimately kind of creepy. I don't understand why people have such a big I don't know why people have beef with this story in particular. I just don't get it. We then have Silver Nemesis, which is easily the weakest in the season. It's, I mean, a lot of people hate it, and yeah, again, I don't hate it that much. It's definitely the weakest Cyberman story in the 80s, that's for sure. They're all chrome and shiny, which kind of comes off as cheap rather than futuristic. The whole... It introduces the whole idea of who is the Doctor. It finally asks the question of, do you actually know who the Doctor is? And they ask it, Doctor Who? Which is something Stephen Moffat kind of just totally steals. Because the whole idea the writer had for this, because he hadn't wrote for Doctor Who before, was that the Doctor was God, and his nemesis was literally Satan, which is an amazing idea, but it's kind of stupid at the same time. But I would have liked to have seen it. It also has neo-Nazis, which is kind of strange, but no, it's 3 parts of nonsense, essentially. We then have the greatest show in the galaxy, and it is really, really good. A lot of people, I think a few people give this one a miss, because they think it's going to be like the Happiness Patrol in the other season. It's by the guy that did Paradise Towers, and this is so much better than that. The clowns are creepy, and the whole revelation of the Ragnarok gods is pretty good. And Sylvester McCoy is brilliant yet again. He's a bloody great Doctor, and so is Ace's brilliant companion. It's good. It's really bloody good. We then have Battlefield, which has the return of the Brigadier since Modern Undead. This is just crazy. It's space knights from an alternate dimension. The Doctor's Merlin, and it's mental. We got Blue Demon Guy, the Destroyer, who is only in 1 part, which is a bit of a shame, but it's 4 parts and it's fast paced. It's by the same guy that did Remembrance of the Daleks, who's Ben Aronovich, who's a very talented writer, and this is just really good. Then we have Ghostlight, which I think is also really, really good. This is by far Sylvester McCoy's best season. Season 26, which just started with Battlefield. This is a good one. It's got quite a lot of body horror, which I quite like. A lot of people say it doesn't make sense, and it does, but it's a lot of ideas compressed into a 3-part story. There's a lot of deleted scenes, so that'll explain it. But I think it makes enough sense to be enjoyed. We then get The Curse of Fenric, which is one of the first times classic Doctor Who kind of had a linking arc throughout stories. This began in the Dragonfire. I don't actually want to spoil it, because it's really, really good. And it also plays into the whole Cartmel master plan, with the Doctor being a reincarnation of like an ancient Time Lord and stuff, which primarily began with Remembrance of the Daleks. The Hymn of Wars are really good. The Great One, I think that's what it's called, or the Old One, I don't know, is an awesome effect. The whole prosthetic mask's really cool looking. Fenric, who is an incredible bad guy. He's got such a presence, considering he's only in 2 parts, but you feel like he's there for the whole thing. It's the most new series episode. It's very much like a Stephen Moffat era thing, with the whole Ace meeting her mother as a baby and stuff. It's all kinds of messed up. We then come to the final ever classic story, well, technically, Survival, which is really good. The Master comes back, Ace's character kind of gets a slight conclusion, even though she doesn't really leave, but you can see where they were going to take the whole show afterwards. But no, this is really good. It's a lot like a Russell T Davies episode from the new series, and I like the whole idea of life going on without the companion there back home, which is something the new series does a lot. But this is the first time the classic series has ever really delved into it. So then we have the TV movie. This is the special edition released in Revisitations 1 box set. I haven't seen this in a while, but I definitely don't think it's as bad as a lot of people say it is. Yet at the same time, it's still pretty stupid. It's American in the worst kind of way, because I like a lot of American things from the 90s. I love Star Trek, and the X-Files is one of my favourite things, and I'm in the middle of watching Buffy as well, but this is the worst kind of TV show pilot of all time, which is what it was trying to be. It was trying to kickstart an American series. Eric Roberts as the Master, it clearly has no idea who the Master is, but he's clearly having the time of his life, so you can't really fault a man for enjoying himself. He's evil and loving it. Paul McGann, who is really good in this, but there's not enough of him on screen. I mean, just overall, in this, he's in it enough. The Big Finish him is amazing, because I was never a big fan until recently when I listened to the first kind of volume of the 8th Doctor Adventures for Big Finish, and I was like, oh my god, he's bloody amazing. But yeah, TV movie, not as bad as everybody says it is, but still pretty stupid. So, just trying not to knock everything over like that, that's a bit annoying. We got Scream of the Shalka, which is an animated special that went out on it's Flash animated, and it went out on the Doctor Who website in 2003 for the 40th anniversary. This is the unofficial, or official until made non-canon 9th Doctor, played by Richard E. Grant, and it's a shame he was never a Doctor, but I do prefer Christopher Eccleston, because this guy looks like bloody Dracula. It's got, what's his face, Derek Jacobi as the Master, who would go on to play Yana in the Utopia episode in Series 3. The Shalka, well, the whole thing's really good. I actually think this is a really, really good story. It's by Paul Cornell, who I wish would be a showrunner at some point, because I just love everything he does. His Virgin New Adventures stories, his Big Finish things, and his episodes in the new series are just really bloody good. And the style of the Flash animation is actually quite good, and I wish a lot of the reconstructed animations they do for classic Doctor Who would look like this, because this is really bloody good, especially for the time and the limitations they were working under. And then we have the standard edition of Resurrection of the Daleks. I don't need to repeat myself. The cover on the other one is much better, but I do like the colours on this one. And last but not least, we have the standard edition of The Caves of Androzani. I like the cover on this one. It's primarily why I got it, and then I got the special edition not that long after. Bloody hell, these stupid DVDs. I don't really need to go into it. There's not as many special features, which is another problem with the Resurrection of the Daleks Standard Edition. This is one of the first DVDs released in 2001, which was among the first years of the releases. I think this is probably the first Peter Davison story, and it's even got a different picture of Peter Davison. But no, this is really good. The story, DVD. Covers go. I do prefer it apart from that, which is a bit annoying because it doesn't fit in with the rest of it. So yeah, that's my classic Doctor Who DVD collection. It probably could be better, I'll admit, but I do plan to get more. I'll probably make another video either at the end of this year or this time next year or something like that. You know, when this year's probably over, I know I won't be getting any more. But no. It has grown a lot in 2019. I think I got 36 because I got like a list, but it's not currently on me, which is a bit of a shame. But no, yeah, I think you can tell I quite like the 80s era more than any other era, because I've pretty much got most of the 80s compared to, you know, like the kind of lacking the 60s with only like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 DVDs and then a few John Pertwees that I'm not even keen on. But yeah, that's the collection. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.